Do you ever wonder why two people can live through the same struggle, but end up with completely different lives? One person rises, the other falls. One grows from the pain, the other breaks under it. Why? Is it luck? Is it talent? Is it destiny? Stephen Covey would say no. He believed the biggest difference between these two people is not what happens to them, it's how they choose to respond. And that idea became the foundation of one of the most life changing books ever written, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The Soda Bottle Test. Covey's hidden lesson. Let's start with something simple. Hold 2 bottles in your mind. One full of soda, one full of water. Now imagine shaking them, violently, intensely, the same force on both. Open the soda, and it explodes all over the room. Open the water, and nothing happens. It stays calm. Same shaking, same pressure, same stress, but completely different reactions. Covey uses this example to teach habit number 1. Be proactive. Some people are like soda. The moment life shakes them, they burst. They explode at their kids, snap at coworkers, get offended on social media, and let the world control their mood. But some people are like water. Life shakes them the same way, but they stay calm, centered, and in control. Not because their life is easier, but because their inner world is stronger. The 2 types of people. Covey says there are only 2 kinds of people you'll meet in life. 1, reactive people blame everything. He made me angry. Life is unfair. This always happens to me. They live emotionally on the surface, like soda ready to explode. Proactive people. They feel emotion, but they don't become emotion. They respond instead of react. They choose their attitude, they control their energy. They live with a sense of inner leadership. Reactive people are controlled by the world. Proactive people are controlled by their values. Covey says, your life is not a result of your conditions, it's a result of your decisions. That is the heart of habit 1. The secret space where power lives. Covey explains a concept that changed my life and the lives of millions. Between stimulus, what happens to you, and response, what you do next, there is a space. It might be small, but inside that small space lies something extraordinary. Your freedom to choose. And Covey says the people who use that space well, the ones who pause, think, and choose their response, those people become unstoppable. In that space lives self-awareness, seeing your emotions before they take over imagination, envisioning a better outcome, conscience, listening to what's right, independent will, acting based on values, not impulses. Animals react. Humans can reflect. That reflection is the birthplace of leadership. The American problem, and Covey's solution. In the USA, stress is normal. People rush everywhere. Everyone is tired. Everyone is overstimulated. Everyone is one bad comment away from exploding. That's why this habit hits so deeply with American viewers. They don't need more productivity hacks. They need emotional control. They need inner peace. They need to feel like life isn't dragging them by the neck. Covey gives them the solution. Be proactive. Don't live at the mercy of feelings. Train the muscle between stimulus and response. The 2 circles that decide your destiny. Covey loved teaching with circles. The circle of concern, everything you worry about. The economy, politics, your past other people's opinions, traffic, weather. Most Americans live here. Scrolling, worrying, complaining. This circle steals energy. Then there's the circle of influence. Everything you can actually change. Your habits, your responses, your attitude, your skills, your time, your character. Proactive people live here. And the more time you spend in this circle, the bigger it grows. Because energy invested in growth multiplies. Energy invested in worry disappears. Covey said something brilliant. Focus on what you can control, and control expands. This is why proactive people feel powerful. Their world expands as they expand. Your words are your mirror. Covey teaches that reactive and proactive people can be identified instantly, just by listening to how they speak. Reactive language, I can't do anything. That's just how I am. He ruined my day. Proactive language, I'll figure it out. I choose my reaction. I'm responsible for how I feel. Language is a mirror. Change your words, and you begin changing your life. The power inside the word, responsibility. Covey breaks the word responsibility into two parts: response plus ability. Your ability to choose your response. This is the foundation of strength. Not physical strength, not financial strength, but inner strength, the kind that makes you calm in storms and powerful under pressure. That's why proactive people appear composed. Not because life is easy for them, but because they refuse to give control of their emotions to the world. And if you're committed to building that same inner strength, support this channel, support this movement, and support your own growth, hit subscribe button. The final example. The two employees. Covey tells a simple story about two employees who both get rejected for the same promotion. The first one reacts instantly, blaming the boss, complaining to coworkers, saying the system is rigged. The second one feels the same disappointment, but she pauses. She steps into the stimulus response space, and instead of reacting, she asks, "What can I learn from this? What can I improve?" One destroys relationships, the other builds a future. Same event, different mindset, different destiny. That is habit number 1. That is the beginning of effectiveness. That is the moment your life shifts from reaction to creation. You cannot control everything around you, but you can always control how you choose to respond. That choice is your superpower. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. Let me ask you something. If today were your last day, what would people say about you tomorrow? Would they say you were kind, driven, caring, lost, or simply busy? It's a strange question, isn't it? Most people avoid it. But Stephen Covey believed this question unlocks something life-changing, because the truth is simple. Everyone is climbing a ladder, but not everyone checked if it's leaning against the right wall. Most people wake up, go to work, pay bills, scroll their phones, and repeat, they live fast, but without direction. Habit 2 changes that. It forces you to step out of the noise and ask the question almost nobody asks. What kind of life am I actually trying to build? The funeral exercise, Covey's most powerful lesson. Covey begins this habit with something uncomfortable, but unforgettable. He asks you to imagine walking into a funeral, people are sitting quietly. Soft music plays. There is sadness, but also warmth. As you walk closer, you realize something shocking. This is your funeral. Your family is there, your friends, your co-workers, maybe your children, maybe your parents. And now the real question arrives. What do you want them to say about you? Not about your job, not about your bank account, but about your character, your kindness, your courage, your impact. Most people spend their whole lives chasing things, but never step back to decide what truly matters. Habit 2 forces you to define that. Because if you don't decide who you want to become, the world will decide for you. Leadership versus management, the mountain story. Covey says there's a huge difference between management and leadership. Management is climbing the ladder efficiently. Leadership is making sure the ladder is leaning against the right mountain. Imagine two hikers lost in a forest. One climbs trees quickly to find a way out. That's management. But the other hiker stops, observes the sun, looks at the terrain, and asks, which direction leads to life? That's leadership. Habit 2 is leadership. The ability to pause the chase and choose the right destination. The power of a personal mission statement. Highly effective people don't drift. They design, they choose, they create. And Covey gives us the tool to do that. A personal mission statement, not a corporate one. Not a cheesy slogan, a real personal compass. Something like, I want to live with integrity and kindness. I want to help people grow. I want to be a healthy, present parent. I want to live a life I'm proud of. A mission statement is not a goal goals can change. A mission is deeper. It's who you want to be at your core. When you know your mission, decisions get easier. Should you stay in a job you hate? Should you end a toxic relationship? Should you take a risk? Your mission answers for you. Mental creation comes before physical creation. Covey explains something profound. Everything is created twice, first in the mind, then in the world. A house is built twice, first as a blueprint, then as a building. A business is built twice, first as a vision, then as a company. A life is built twice, first in your imagination, then in your actions. If you don't picture the life you want, you'll live a life you never intended. That's why most people feel lost. They are living without a blueprint. Habit 2 gives you that blueprint, the American life trap. And how Habit 2 saves it. In America, people are busy, always moving, always working, always chasing the next thing. But busyness is not purpose, motion is not direction, and running fast is useless if you're running the wrong way. Habit 2 cuts through the noise. It teaches clarity. It teaches intentional living. It teaches you to ask, is this really the life I want, or am I just following the crowd? When you begin with the end in mind, you stop chasing and start creating. The story of the two brothers. Covey tells a story of two brothers who inherited a small family store. One brother focused on survival, counting pennies, keeping the store alive. He managed every detail. He worked hard, but his ladder leaned on the wrong wall. The other brother had a vision. He imagined the store becoming something bigger. He saw potential. He created a plan. He built the end in his mind. Years later, the first brother was still stuck behind the counter. The second brother owned a chain of stores across the city. Same family, same start, different vision, different end, different destiny. That's the power of Habit 2. Ending with your life. Vision. Habit 2 is not about writing a cute sentence. It's about shaping your identity. It's asking, who do I want to be remembered as? What values define me? What will my life stand for? When you begin with the end in mind, you don't just live, you live on purpose. Because without purpose, life controls you. But with purpose, you control life. Habit number 3. Put first things. First, cinematic storytelling script. Approximately 1,160 plus words. Let me start with a question. If someone followed you around for 24 hours, would they be able to tell what truly matters to you? Or would they only see distractions, notifications, emails, chaos, urgency without meaning? Habit 3 is where Covey takes us from vision to action, from planning your life to actually living the life you planned. If Habit 2 is about choosing the right mountain, Habit 3 is about climbing it, step by step, day by day, without getting lost in the noise. The firefighter problem. Always busy, never effective. Covey says most people live like firefighters. Everything feels urgent. Everything feels like an emergency. Texts, emails, phone calls, deadlines, last-minute tasks, family demands. People spend all day putting out fires. But here's the truth. Urgent things shout, important things whisper. And most people only listen to the shouting. That's why we feel exhausted but not fulfilled. Busy but not productive. Habit 3 destroys this cycle. Covey's 4 quadrants. The real-time map. Covey divides all tasks into 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, urgent plus important crises, emergencies, deadlines. This is survival mode. Quadrant 2, not urgent plus important planning. Health, learning, relationships, growth. This is where success happens. Quadrant 3, urgent plus not important notifications, interruptions, fake emergencies. Quadrant 4, not urgent plus not important. Scrolling, gossip, meaningless entertainment. Most people live in Q1, Q3, and Q4. Highly effective people focus obsessively on Q2, because Q2 creates the future. Q2 builds health, wealth, and peace. Q2 is where great lives are created. Why Americans struggle. Most with habit. 3. In the USA, everything is fast. Fast food, fast news, fast reactions, fast scrolling. Americans are trained to respond immediately. Everything feels urgent. Everything feels like now. Habit 3 tells viewers something they rarely hear. Slow down, choose, focus. It's a revolutionary message in a country drowning in speed. Putting first things. First equals saying no. Covey says the key to this habit is simple. Learn to say no to the things that matter less. So you can say yes to the things that matter most. No to distractions. No to fake urgency. No to energy vampires. No to guilt-based commitments. Proactive people value their time like money. They invest it in quadrant 2, not in the chaos of quadrant 3 and 4. The rope example. What pulls you and what you pull. Imagine holding a rope. On one end is your mission, your values, your goals, your purpose. On the other end are the people and things pulling you away. Notifications, fake urgency, drama, fear, laziness, pleasing others. Most people let the world pull the rope for them. They get dragged in every direction except the one that matters. Habit 3 hands the rope back to you. Discipline equals choosing the future over the moment. People think discipline is pain, but Covey teaches something different. Discipline is remembering what you want most instead of what you want now. What you want now is comfort. What you want most is growth. What you want now is a distraction. What you want most is progress. Habit 3 makes this shift possible. One story, the student who always did it later. Covey tells the story of a brilliant college student, smart, talented, capable, but always late, always rushing, always overwhelmed. Assignments turned in at the last minute, projects completed under panic, always busy, rarely effective. One day, he decided to plan his week the Covey way, to put first things first. He blocked time for Q2, studying health, rest, reflection, personal goals. Within a semester, he became one of the top students, not because he got smarter, but because he got organized. Success didn't come from pressure, it came from priority. Ending with the mountain metaphor, habit 2 chooses the mountain. Habit 3 climbs it, step by step, day by day, quietly, consistently. Put first things first. And your life becomes something you intentionally build, not something you accidentally live. And if you want to keep building that life with a community that grows together, support this movement and hit subscribe to Rewired Reader. Habit number 4, think win-win cinematic script. Approximately 770 words. Let me ask you a simple question. Why do so many relationships fall apart? Marriages, friendships, partnerships, businesses? Why do people who once cared about each other end up angry, distant, or broken? Covey believed the answer comes down to one thing: how we see the world. Most people see life as a competition, a giant scoreboard, a place where for one person to win, another must lose. This is the mindset that destroys trust, that tears families apart, that breaks teams, that kills creativity, that makes people feel alone even in crowded rooms. Habit 4 challenges this mindset completely. Think win-win, a simple phrase, but a revolutionary way of living. 4 ways most people approach life. Most people don't live win-win. They live one of these 4. 1. Win-lose. I succeed only if you fail. This is common in competitive workplaces and toxic families. It creates resentment, fear, and distance. 2. Lose-win. You win, I lose. This is the people-pleaser mindset. Kind on the outside, painful on the inside. These people lose themselves, trying to keep peace. 3. Lose-lose. If I can't win, nobody will. This is revenge thinking. The mindset that says, if I'm suffering, I'll pull you down too. 4. Win people think this is good. But win alone actually ignores everyone else. It's selfish success. Covey says true leaders aim for something higher. Win-win, where both sides grow, both sides gain, both sides leave stronger. The story of 2 managers. Covey tells a story of 2 managers in the same company. The first manager leads with fear. He pressures people, steals their credit, and blames them when things go wrong. He gets results, at first, but slowly his team burns out. People start quitting. Creativity dies. Trust disappears. The second manager leads differently. He listens. He involves people in decisions. He celebrates their success. He builds trust before he needs it. His team not only performs better, they stay longer, care deeper, and innovate more. Same company, same tools, same goals, different mindset. That is the power of win-win. In-win is not about being nice. A big misunderstanding is that win-win means being soft, letting people walk over you, avoiding conflict. But Covey says win-win is actually the most courageous mindset. Because win-win requires two things: high courage and high consideration. Courage to stand up for your needs. Consideration to care about the other person's needs. It's balance. It's maturity. It's emotional intelligence at the highest level. Win-win means I won't hurt you to succeed, and I won't let you hurt me either. We will find a way where both can thrive. Win-win requires abundance. Thinking. This is the mental shift that changes everything. Reactive people believe in a scarcity mindset. There's not enough money, not enough opportunity, not enough success, not enough love. So they compete. They take. They protect. They fear. Win-win people live with an abundance mindset. There is enough. There is room for both of us. Your success doesn't reduce mine. Your win doesn't mean my loss. This mindset creates generosity, collaboration, and real partnership. The emotional bank account. Covey introduces a beautiful idea. Every relationship has an emotional bank account. Every kind act is a deposit. Every broken promise is a withdrawal. Every moment of honesty is a deposit. Every manipulation is a withdrawal. When the account is full, relationships feel safe, strong, and open. When the account is empty, every discussion becomes a fight. Win-win relationships are built on constant deposits. Listening. Keeping promises, being loyal. Apologizing sincerely. Showing respect. Win-win isn't something you say, it's something you build over time through trust. A simple example, the two friends. Two friends plan to start a business together. One wants more profit, the other wants more recognition. If they fight internally, the business dies. If one sacrifices too much, resentment grows. But if they talk honestly, I want security. I want creative freedom. I want to feel valued. I want to feel safe. Suddenly win-win becomes possible. Both feel seen. Both feel respected. Both build something they're proud of. That is the magic of habit 4. Ending words. Win-win is not a strategy. It is not manipulation. It is not being nice. Win-win is a way of thinking, a belief that life is better when both sides walk away stronger, because the strongest leaders, the happiest families, the healthiest relationships, the best companies, all thrive on the same principle. We rise higher when we rise together. Habit number 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Let me begin with a question every American can relate to. When was the last time someone truly listened to you? Not waited for their turn to speak? Not judged you? Not corrected you? But actually listened. To understand, not to respond. For most people, it's rare, painfully rare. Covey believed that this habit, habit 5, is the foundation of every strong relationship, every successful leader, every peaceful home, every meaningful connection. Because the truth is, most people don't listen. They reload. They reload their arguments, their opinions, their comebacks. They listen with the intent to reply instead of listening with the intent to understand. Habit 5 flips that world completely. The doctor story. Covey's most famous example. Covey starts with a simple story. A man walks into a doctor's office before he even finishes describing his symptoms. The doctor hands him a prescription. The man says, "But you didn't examine me, you didn't ask questions. You didn't diagnose anything." The doctor replies, "It's fine. These pills worked for me." We'd call that doctor incompetent, reckless, irresponsible. But Covey says, that's exactly how most people communicate. We prescribe before we diagnose. We advise before we understand. We talk before we listen. Habit 5 is the cure. The deepest human need. Covey explains that the deepest human need is to be understood. Not corrected, not fixed, not judged. Understood. When people feel understood, they open up. They soften. They trust. They collaborate. They change. But when people feel misunderstood, walls go up instantly. Habit 5 is the skill that lowers those walls. Why most people are terrible listeners. Most people don't listen with their ears. They listen with their filters, their memories, their biases, their insecurities, their past, their ego. So even when you think you're listening, you're actually projecting your own life onto someone else's story. Covey calls this autobiographical listening, and it shows up in 4 common ways. 1. Evaluating, judging the person before they finish speaking. 2. Advising, jumping in with solutions nobody asked for. 3. Probing, interrogating instead of understanding. 4. Interpreting, projecting your story onto theirs. These habits kill connection. Habit 5 replaces them with something far more powerful. Empathic listening. The skill of leaders. Covey introduces empathic listening. Not emotional listening, not soft listening, but accurate listening. It means you don't listen to reply. You don't listen to win. You don't listen to fix the person. You listen to understand them from their point of view. It's the kind of listening therapists use, trusted leaders use, great parents use, and strong partners use. Empathic listening is not repeating their words. It's understanding their feelings. It's hearing the emotion behind the sentence. It's stepping into their shoes, even when you disagree. The parent-teenager example. Covey gives a beautiful example. A teenager says, "School is pointless. I hate going." A reactive parent replies, "You should be grateful you even have a school. Stop complaining and work harder." The teenager shuts down, connection lost, trust shattered. But a proactive parent uses empathic listening. "It sounds like you're overwhelmed. What's been happening lately?" Suddenly the teenager opens up. "I feel stupid. Everyone else seems smarter than me. I'm scared of failing." Now the real issue appears, not school, but fear. And because the parent understood first, the teenager is now open to guidance. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Why this habit is life-changing in America. In the USA, everyone is talking. Everyone is debating. Everyone is yelling online. Everyone wants to be right. But almost nobody wants to understand. That's why marriages fall apart. Why workplaces feel toxic. Why friendships disappear. Why political arguments turn into wars. Habit 5 is the antidote. Slow down. Listen. Understand. Not to agree, but to understand. When you do that, the other person finally feels safe enough to hear you. 2 steps of Habit 5. Habit 5 is simple. 1. Understand them first. Ask questions. Reflect what they feel. See the world through their eyes. 2. Then help them understand you. Speak clearly. Share your perspective honestly, but only after you've built the bridge. When both sides feel understood, solutions appear like magic. Walls fall. Respect grows. Trust strengthens. Ending example. The business deal that almost failed. 2 companies were negotiating a deal. It was falling apart. Tension everywhere. Accusations flying millions on the line. Both sides were fighting to be understood. Neither was trying to understand. Finally, one leader said, "Before we talk numbers, can you tell me what matters most to you in this deal?" And everything changed. The other team explained their fears, their pressures, their concerns. Once understood, the negotiation transformed. Both sides found a win-win solution, because communication is not about who speaks best. It's about who listens best. Habit 5 is simple to say, hard to practice, but powerful enough to save relationships, strengthen teams, and change lives. If you want, I'll now continue with Habit 6 in the same cinematic style. Habit number 6, synergize. Did you know, when geese fly in a V shape, they travel 70% farther than any goose could travel alone? Just think about that for a moment. The same goose, with the same wings, the same strength, the same ability, goes nearly twice as far when flying with others than it could ever go flying solo. How? Because the goose in front creates uplift, reducing wind resistance for the ones behind. When the lead goose gets tired, it falls back, and another takes its place. They rotate, support each other, honk encouragement from behind, and move as one powerful team. This is synergy. And this is exactly what Stephen Covey calls habit number 6. Synergize, the lesson of the geese. Covey uses nature to teach us something we humans often forget. We are stronger together than we could ever be alone. Synergy is not teamwork. It is not compromise. It is not fine. Let's meet halfway. It is something far greater. 1 plus 1 does not equal 2. It equals 3, or 10, or something extraordinary. Synergy means combining strengths, so the final result becomes something no single person could create on their own. The American myth of, I'll do it myself. In America, people worship independence. I don't need help. I'll figure it out alone. I'll do it myself. And yes, independence matters. It builds character, discipline, strength. But Covey says something bold. Independence is only half the journey. The next step is interdependence, creating something greater together. Just like the geese in V formation, you are strongest when supported, and when you support others. Differences are not threats. They are power. Synergy begins with a simple mindset. Differences are strengths. Different perspectives, different talents, BN, different personalities, different experiences. Most people fear differences. They argue with them, they judge them, they try to change them. But synergy happens when you stop seeing differences as conflict and start seeing them as fuel. Because if two people think exactly alike, one of them is unnecessary. The two builders story. Covey shares a powerful example. Two builders were designing a home. One was extremely logical, focused on safety, structure, durability. The other was artistic, focused on beauty, light, emotion, design. At first they clashed. Each thought the other was wrong. But when they finally paused and tried to understand each other, something incredible happened. The artistic builder realized the home needed strength. The practical builder realized the home needed soul. Together they created a home far better than either one could have created alone. That is synergy. When differences stop colliding and start combining. The 3 ingredients of synergy. Covey says synergy doesn't happen by luck. It requires 3 deliberate choices. 1. Win-win thinking. Both sides want each other to succeed. 2. Empathic listening. You truly understand each other before solving anything. 3. Creative cooperation. You combine strengths to create something new. When these 3 blend together, new ideas appear like magic. NASA, the ultimate example of synergy. Think about NASA, putting humans on the moon, engineers, scientists, pilots, mathematicians, programmers, all different, all brilliant in different ways, all necessary. One discipline alone couldn't do it, but together, through synergy, they achieved something once thought impossible. That's the power of we. Synergy is not compromise. Covey makes this crystal clear. Compromise is, you lose something, I lose something. Let's settle because we can't figure it out. Synergy is, you bring your best, I bring my best, and together we create something better than either of us imagined. Compromise leads to average results. Synergy leads to extraordinary ones. Why most teams fail. The ego problem. Most teams don't fail because of lack of talent. They fail because of ego. People want to be right. People want the final word. People want the credit. But synergy requires humility. It requires letting go of pride. It requires openness. Covey says, synergy requires vulnerability. You must be willing to listen, to be wrong, to collaborate, to combine strengths. Ego destroys synergy. Humility creates it. The family example. Differences. Saving a Home. Covey tells a story of a family struggling with their son. The father wanted strict rules. The mother wanted gentle understanding. The son wanted freedom. Instead of fighting, they practiced habits 4 and 5. Win-win and empathic. Listening through understanding each other, they created a plan none of them alone could invent. Structure plus trust plus independence. A synergistic solution. Not his way, not her way, a new way. Ending words. Habit 6 reminds us of a truth we all know deep down. We were never meant to fly alone. The greatest victories are shared victories. The greatest solutions are blended from different minds. The greatest progress comes from unity, vision, and cooperation. Just like the geese, we go farther, faster, and stronger when we fly together. Say, Habit 7. And I'll write the next one with the same cinematic energy. Habit number 7, sharpen the saw. Let me ask you something. If you had one saw and you needed to cut down a huge tree, what would you do? Would you swing harder, swing faster, push yourself until your arms shake? Or would you stop for a moment, step back, and sharpen the saw? Most people choose the first option. They keep chopping. They keep pushing. They keep grinding. But the saw gets dull. Their energy weakens. Their results get worse. And eventually, they burn out. Stephen Covey believed this is exactly how people live their lives. They work harder, but not smarter. They use more force, but less strategy. They push themselves, but never renew themselves. That is why Habit 7 exists. Sharpen the saw means one thing: renew yourself before you break yourself. The lumberjack story. Covey's perfect example. Covey tells a story of two lumberjacks. The first swings nonstop. No breaks, no rest, no sharpening, just brute force. The second pauses every hour to sharpen his saw. At the end of the day, the lumberjack who took breaks cuts far more wood, with far less stress. Why? Because a sharp tool beats a tired arm every time. Habit 7 teaches you to sharpen the most important tool of all: yourself. The 4 areas you must renew. Covey says true renewal happens in 4 dimensions. Ignore one, and your life falls out of balance. 1 physical renewal: body exercise, sleep, healthy food, movement. Not for beauty, but for strength, for endurance, for energy. A weak body makes a weak mind. 2 mental renewal: mind read, learn, reflect, think deeply, challenge your brain. Your mind is a muscle. If you don't stretch it, it shrinks. 3 emotional renewal: heart relationships, connection, love, friendship, kindness. Humans need people. Isolation dulls the spirit like rust dulls a blade. 4 spiritual renewal: soul purpose, values, peace, prayer, nature meditation. This is the deepest part of you, the place that asks, who am I? Why am I here? What matters to me? Renew all 4, and you become unstoppable. Why Americans struggle with this habit? The most in the USA, people are trained to hustle, to grind, to push, to climb, to sleep less, to work more. People brag about being busy, even when their life is falling apart. Covey believed this culture is dangerous, because if you don't take time to recharge, life will force you to, through exhaustion, through burnout, through collapse. Sharpening the saw is not weakness, it is strength. It is strategic. It is the only way to maintain long-term success. The athlete example. Why champions rest. Think about the world's best athletes. They don't work out 24 hours a day. They train hard, then rest harder. They recover. They sleep. They heal. They sharpen their bodies so they can perform at their peak. A bodybuilder who never rests, never grows. A runner who never stops gets injured. A fighter who never breathes gets knocked out. The same is true for life. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Renewal multiplies all other habits. Covey says, Habit 7 doesn't stand alone. It fuels every other habit. Habit 1. Be proactive. Impossible when your mind is exhausted. Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. You can't think clearly when your emotions are overloaded. Habit 3. Put first things first. You cannot prioritize when your spirit is drained. Habits 4, 5, and 6. Win-win understanding, synergy. You can't build relationships when you're burnt out and empty. Sharpening the saw is what keeps your entire life sharp, focused, and effective. The candle story. A simple reminder. Covey once described a candle. If you burn a candle non-stop, eventually the flame weakens and the wax disappears.